There is a question that most Americans over the age of 60 carry quietly, sometimes for years, without ever sitting down to actually answer it. Not because they do not care about the answer, not because they are irresponsible or unprepared, but because the question feels so large, so permanent, so final, that facing it directly feels almost dangerous. The question is this: when can I actually stop working? Not when do I want to stop. Not when does my boss expect me to stop. When can I mathematically, financially, emotionally actually stop and know with confidence that I will be okay for the rest of my life? Because here is what I have seen working with seniors across this country. Most people spend more time planning a 2-week vacation than they spend planning the last 30 years of their life. And that imbalance, that gap between how much thought goes into a hotel reservation versus how much thought goes into a retirement date, quietly costs people years of freedom they had already earned and simply never claimed. Today, I'm going to give you the complete framework: the math, the income strategy, the tax picture, the healthcare bridge, and something that almost every retirement video skips entirely: the psychological side, the part that determines whether retirement feels like liberation or like loss. And near the end of this video, I am going to share something that most people approaching retirement have never heard of: a specific benefit and planning strategy that can move your retirement date earlier than you ever thought possible. It has nothing to do with winning the lottery or taking on more risk. It is hiding in plain sight in the programs you have already been paying into your entire working life. But I am saving that for later because it only makes sense once we have built the foundation together. So stay with me all the way through, because the best part of this conversation is still ahead. Before we run a single number, before we touch a single formula, I want to ask you something personal. And I want you to take this seriously because your answer shapes everything that comes next. What does stopping work actually mean to you? Because I have spoken with enough people in their 60s and 70s to know that stop working means something completely different to different people. And those differences matter enormously for the math. There is traditional retirement where you fully step away from paid work and pour your time into family, travel, hobbies, grandchildren, rest, whatever calls to you. There is work optional, where you leave your primary career but choose to do some consulting, some part-time work, some freelance on your own terms, not because you have to, but because you want to stay engaged on your schedule. And there is financial freedom, where you have accumulated enough that your portfolio can fund your entire life indefinitely, but you continue working because you genuinely love what you do and you choose it freely every single morning. These are not the same destination. A person who wants to pull $12,000 a month purely from their investment portfolio forever needs a radically different plan than someone who will bring in $3,000 a month from part-time consulting well into their late 60s. The math changes, the timeline changes, the risk picture changes. So before we go any further, please take a moment and type in the comments which version you are planning for: traditional, work optional, or financial freedom. And while you are down there, I would love for you to share your age and the single biggest challenge standing between you and the retirement you have imagined. Is it not having saved enough? Healthcare costs before Medicare? Figuring out Social Security timing? Caregiving responsibilities pulling you in multiple directions? Scams targeting your savings? Whatever it is, tell me. I read every comment, and your answers are why this channel exists. Now, here's the first thing that trips people up, and it is more fundamental than most realize. Most retirement conversations start in the wrong place. They start with your income, with the paycheck you are trying to replace. But your retirement number is not an income number. It is a spending number. And when people actually sit down and calculate what their life genuinely costs, the answer surprises them in both directions. Some people discover they have been dramatically underestimating what they spend. Others, particularly high earners, discover that retirement will actually cost significantly less than their working life income because the expenses tied to working disappear. Payroll taxes gone, the mandatory savings contribution you have been making for decades gone, the mortgage that might be paid off, the children who are grown and financially independent, the work wardrobe, the commute, the lunches out during the week. All of those line items shrink or vanish entirely. What remains is housing costs, including taxes and insurance and maintenance, healthcare premiums and out-of-pocket expenses, food and daily living, travel and the leisure you have been deferring for years, any family support you choose to provide, and taxes, because taxes do not retire when you do. Once you have an honest annual spending number, you have the foundation for everything that follows, Let us say your number comes out to $10,000 a month, which is $120,000 per year. Now we have something we can actually calculate around. Here is the formula that changes how people see their retirement picture. And I want you to write this down because it is the core of everything. Your annual spending number minus all of your guaranteed income equals what your portfolio actually needs to generate. Your guaranteed income floor is everything that shows up every month without you having to touch your investments. Social Security, any pension income you may have, rental income from a property, annuity payments if you have structured any, or part-time and consulting income you plan to bring in during the early years of retirement. The gap between your spending and that income floor is the only number your portfolio has to cover. And here is why this matters so profoundly. Every dollar you can add to your income floor is a dollar your portfolio does not have to generate, and reducing what your portfolio has to carry can move your retirement date significantly earlier. Let me show you with real numbers. Your target spending is $120,000 a year. Your combined household Social Security income is $55,000 annually. You plan to bring in $25,000 through part-time consulting in your early retirement years. Your portfolio now only needs to generate $40,000 per year. That is the gap. That is the only number you need to build a portfolio around. And when you frame it that way, the mountain suddenly looks a great deal more manageable than it did before. But let me tell you about a woman named Patricia. Patricia is 63 years old and lives in suburban Charlotte, North Carolina. She has worked in hospital administration for 31 years, and she came to a retirement planning workshop at her local library, absolutely convinced she could not retire before 68. She had never looked at her Social Security statement. She had never calculated what her actual spending would be in retirement. She had a rough sense of her savings balance, but no picture of how it connected to a specific retirement date. When a volunteer benefits counselor sat with her and walked through the actual numbers, Patricia discovered 3 things she had not known. Her Social Security benefit at age 67 would be $2,200 per month. Her husband Robert's benefit, which she had never checked, would be $2,600 per month if he waited until 67. And her hospital provided a small pension she had nearly forgotten about worth $900 monthly. Their combined guaranteed income floor was more than $67,000 annually before either of them touched their investment accounts. Their actual spending in retirement, once they calculated it honestly, came out to $94,000 per year. The gap their portfolio needed to cover was not the 6-figure annual burden Patricia had imagined. It was $27,000. Patricia looked up from the paper and said to the counselor, "Are you telling me I could potentially retire at 65? The counselor smiled and said, "Let us keep going and find out." By the end of that session, with a modest adjustment to their Social Security claiming strategy, Patricia had a credible path to retiring at 65, 2 full years earlier than she had believed possible, and doing so with confidence rather than fear. Now we need to talk about Social Security timing, because this single decision is one of the most consequential financial choices of your entire retirement, and most people make it without fully understanding what is at stake. You can claim Social Security as early as age 62. You can claim at your full retirement age, which is 67 for anyone born in 1960 or later. Or you can delay all the way to age 70 when your benefit reaches its maximum. The difference between claiming at 62 versus waiting until 70 is not modest. According to the Social Security Administration, every year you delay past 62 increases your benefit by a meaningful percentage, and waiting from 62 all the way to 70 can increase your monthly benefit by approximately 76% for the median worker. That often translates to a difference of $1,000 to $1,500 per month. Over a 25-year retirement, that is $300,000 to $450,000 in additional lifetime income from one decision. And yet the majority of Americans claim Social Security before their full retirement age, often because they have not run the numbers and do not realize what waiting is worth. If you have never pulled your Social Security statement, please go to ssa.gov this week and create or log into your account. Look at your estimated benefit at 62, at your full retirement age, and at 70. That one piece of information can reshape your entire retirement plan. Before I give you the next section, which is where we get into the specific formula for calculating your target portfolio and the strategies that can move your retirement date earlier, I want to take just a moment to ask something of you. If this video is showing you things about your own retirement picture that you have never seen this clearly before, please hit the like button right now. It costs you nothing, and it helps this video reach other people in their 60s and 70s who are carrying the same questions you are and have not found the answers yet. And if you are not already subscribed to this channel, please do that now, because what I am about to share in the next section is something I consider the most underused retirement accelerator available to most American seniors, and it is hiding inside programs they have already been contributing to for decades. Do not go anywhere. Here is the foundational portfolio formula. Your income gap divided by your withdrawal rate equals the portfolio you need. The withdrawal rate is simply the percentage you take from your portfolio each year. The traditional 4% rule, which has been a benchmark in retirement planning for decades and has recently been revised upward to approximately 4.7%, according to updated research from financial planning academics, is designed for a roughly 30-year retirement horizon with a diversified portfolio. If you are planning an earlier retirement with a longer horizon of 40 or even 45 years, a more conservative rate of 3 to 3.5% may be more appropriate. If your spending is genuinely flexible and you are willing to reduce your withdrawals by 10 or 15% during down market years, a rate of 5.5 to 6% can work sustainably. Using our example of a $40,000 income gap and a withdrawal rate of 5.5% with spending flexibility, the target portfolio needed is approximately $730,000. When you factor in taxes on those withdrawals, a more realistic target lands closer to $800,000 depending on your account structure. That is a real and achievable number for many people who assumed they needed $2 or $3 million and felt completely behind. But that formula does not exist in a vacuum. There is a risk that does not show up in the spreadsheet, and it is one of the most dangerous threats to a retirement that looks perfect on paper. It is called sequence of returns risk, and it refers to the order in which investment gains and losses occur rather than their average. Two people can retire with the same savings, the same withdrawal rate, and the same average market return over their retirement and end up with wildly different outcomes based purely on whether the first years of their retirement experienced strong markets or severe declines. Someone who retired in early 2000 walked directly into the dot-com collapse. Someone who retired in 2008 walked into the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression. These are not edge cases. These are the real experiences of real people who had done the math correctly and still faced a threat their calculations had not captured. There are three things that meaningfully protect against this risk. The first is a cash buffer of 12 to 24 months of living expenses held in cash or short-term bonds, so that when markets fall, you are not forced to sell investments at depressed prices to cover your monthly needs. You wait. You draw from the buffer. You give the portfolio time to recover. The second is a genuinely diversified portfolio so that you do not experience 100% of any single market's losses. The third is spending flexibility, because the ability to reduce your portfolio withdrawals by even 10% in a bad market year can dramatically improve the long-term survival probability of your retirement funds. The best portfolio is ultimately the one you will not panic sell when markets drop 30 or 40%, which means it needs to be structured not just for mathematical return, but for your own psychological tolerance. Let me tell you about a man named Gerald. Gerald is 67 years old and retired 18 months ago from a manufacturing management role in Michigan. He had saved carefully, had a diversified portfolio, and had built what he thought was a solid plan. But in the first year of his retirement, markets turned sharply. And Gerald, who had not established a cash buffer and who had not built the spending flexibility into his plan, began selling equity positions to cover his monthly expenses during the downturn. His financial advisor spotted the pattern and brought Gerald in for an emergency planning session. Together, they restructured his withdrawal strategy, established a 2-year cash buffer from a bond ladder, and reduced his portfolio withdrawals by 12% by cutting discretionary spending temporarily. The portfolio stabilized. 2 years later, Gerald told his advisor, "I almost made a permanent decision based on a temporary situation." He said losing sleep at night over a market correction he could not control was the part of retirement nobody had prepared him for. That emotional experience, the fear of watching a number drop on a screen, is where most retirement plans actually fail. Not in the math, in the moment when the math stops feeling real and the fear takes over. Now I want to walk you through the 4 levers that have the most power to move your retirement date, because these are the things you can actually control. The first lever, which we have already discussed at length, is Social Security timing. I am returning to it because it bears repeating. Delaying Social Security to age 70, if your health and circumstances allow it, can reduce your required portfolio by hundreds of thousands of dollars. For many people, That one decision is more powerful than saving aggressively for several additional years combined. The second lever is tax strategy, and this one is dramatically underestimated by the majority of retirees. Two people can each have an $800,000 portfolio and generate completely different after-tax income from it depending on how that money is distributed across three types of accounts. A taxable brokerage account where investments held longer than 1 year qualify for long-term capital gains rates that are often 0 or 15% for most retirees. A traditional IRA or traditional 401k where every dollar withdrawn is taxed as ordinary income, and a Roth IRA or Roth 401k where qualified withdrawals are completely tax-free, with no required minimum distributions during your lifetime. Strategic Roth conversions, moving money from traditional accounts to Roth accounts during lower income years in your late 50s or early 60s before Social Security begins, and before required minimum distributions kick in at age 73 under the Secure 2.0 Act, can reduce your lifetime tax bill by tens of thousands of dollars and increase the after-tax income your portfolio generates without adding a single dollar to the total balance. Good tax planning does not just save money, it can genuinely buy you years of freedom. The third lever is the healthcare bridge, and this is one of the most underestimated costs facing anyone who wants to retire before age 65. Medicare does not begin until 65. If you retire at 62 or 63, you have 2 to 3 years where you are responsible for your own health insurance. In 2026, depending on your health history and the coverage level you need, that can easily cost $15,000 to $25,000 per year in premiums and out-of-pocket expenses. This is not a reason to delay retirement. It is a reason to model it carefully in advance. The Affordable Care Act marketplace at healthcare.gov offers coverage options with income-based subsidies that can significantly reduce what you pay during those bridge years. But the subsidy structure has income thresholds you need to understand before you plan your withdrawals, because taking too much income in those years can cost you subsidy eligibility at exactly the moment you need the savings most. Many retirees find that once Medicare does begin at 65, their healthcare costs drop meaningfully compared to those bridge years, particularly if they choose their Medicare coverage carefully. And this is where I want to share something that most people in their early to mid-60s have never been told. Medicare is not a single program with a single cost. It is a system of choices, and the difference between choosing the right plan and the wrong plan for your specific health needs and medications can easily cost or save $1,000 or more per year. Your local state health insurance assistance program, known as SHIP, provides free, unbiased, one-on-one counseling to help you navigate Medicare choices. These are not salespeople. They are trained volunteers with no financial stake in what plan you choose. Find your local SHIP counselor at shiphelp.org before you make any Medicare decisions. The fourth lever is working one additional year, or conversely, recognizing that you are in a position to stop 1 year sooner than you planned. Each additional year of work does 3 things simultaneously. It adds to your savings balance. It adds 1 more year of earnings to your Social Security record, which can increase your eventual benefit. And it removes 1 year from the period your portfolio must sustain. A single intentional year, added or subtracted, can swing a retirement plan by far more than most people expect when all 3 of those effects are calculated together. Now I want to share the thing I have been building toward, because this is the part that most retirement videos never reach, and it is the part that transforms retirement planning from an anxiety-inducing calculation into something that feels genuinely achievable and even exciting. There is a program coordination strategy that most Americans approaching retirement have never been shown, one that ties Social Security optimization, Medicare savings programs, extra help for prescription costs, and state-level property tax relief together into a compounding system of annual savings that can meaningfully reduce the income your portfolio needs to generate every single month. Here is how these pieces connect. If your income in retirement is at a level that qualifies you for the Medicare Savings Program, the state-administered program that can eliminate your Medicare Part B premium entirely, which in 2026 runs approximately $185 per month, your MSP approval automatically qualifies you for Medicare Extra Help, the Social Security Administration program that can reduce your prescription drug costs from hundreds of dollars per month to nearly nothing. In many states, MSP enrollment also triggers eligibility for SNAP food assistance, reducing your monthly grocery expenses. And in nearly every state, there are property tax relief programs for seniors with income-based eligibility that can return hundreds or thousands of dollars annually. Each of these programs individually is valuable. Together, they can reduce your monthly retirement expenses by $500, $800, even over $1,000 per month, which directly reduces the income gap your portfolio must cover and makes retirement viable earlier and more securely than the raw savings number alone would suggest. The place to access all of this in one conversation is your local area agency on aging. A free benefits checkup through the National Council on Aging at benefitscheckup.org can identify every program you qualify for in under 30 minutes. Let me tell you about a couple named Howard and Diane. Howard is 68 and Diane is 66. They live in rural Tennessee. When they retired, they had a combined portfolio of just over $400,000, and both were convinced that it was not enough to sustain them comfortably. A benefits counselor at their area agency on aging helped them do a complete picture analysis. Diane's MSP approval eliminated her Part B premium. Both of them qualified for extra help, dropping their combined prescription costs from over $300 per month to under $30. They qualified for SNAP benefits worth $211 per month, and Tennessee's property tax relief program returned $780 on their annual property tax bill. In total, Howard and Diane reduced their monthly retirement expenses by more than $800, which reduced the annual income their portfolio needed to generate by nearly $10,000 per year. Howard told the counselor that before that session, he had been considering going back to work part-time because he was afraid the money would not last. After the session, he said for the first time, he believed they were actually going to be all right. Now I want to address the part of retirement planning that the math cannot capture, because I have seen it derail people who had the finances perfectly in order. Retirement is one of the most significant identity transitions a human being can make. For most people over 60, work has not just been a source of income. It has been a source of structure, a source of community, a source of daily purpose, and often a significant part of how they understand who they are. Research in behavioral finance and psychology, including work documented by scholars like Michael Finke at the American College of Financial Services, consistently shows that people who retire without a clear picture of what they are retiring toward, not just what they are leaving, face higher rates of depression, anxiety, and dissatisfaction in their early retirement years than people who had invested as much thought in their life plan as they had in their financial plan. The question worth sitting with is this: what are you doing on a Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock when there is no meeting on the calendar and no obligation pulling you anywhere? If that picture is vivid and joyful, that is a strong signal your psychological readiness matches your financial readiness. If that picture is blank or uncomfortable, that is valuable information too. Not a reason to delay retirement indefinitely, but a reason to invest some time and intention in answering it before the day arrives. Here's what I want to leave you with today, and I mean this from a place of deep respect for everything you have built and carried to get to this point in your life. You have spent decades contributing to Social Security, to Medicare, to a system that was designed to support you in exactly this chapter. And yet most people arrive at retirement's edge with more fear and uncertainty than they should have. Not because they did not save enough, not because they made irresponsible choices, but because nobody ever sat them down and showed them the complete picture, the spending formula, the income floor strategy, the Social Security timing math, the tax bucket coordination, the benefit programs that can reduce what the portfolio needs to generate, and the psychological preparation that makes the transition sustainable. You are not behind. You are not too late. The tools exist. The programs are funded and available. The strategies are real and accessible. And the only thing standing between where you are right now and a clear, confident retirement plan is the decision to actually build one. This week, do 3 things. Go to ssa.gov and pull your Social Security statement. Write down honestly and completely what your life costs each month in spending, not income. And contact your local area agency on aging, or go to benefitscheckup.org and find out every benefit program you currently qualify for. Those 3 steps, taken together, will give you more clarity about your actual retirement readiness than most people accumulate in years of worried thinking. You have earned this, every part of it, and you deserve to step into it with your eyes open and your confidence intact. As always, everything shared here is for educational purposes only and not personalized financial, tax, or legal advice. Your situation is unique, and the right plan depends on your specific income, your accounts, your health, and your state of residence. Please consult a licensed financial planner or CPA before making major retirement decisions, and verify current benefit eligibility at ssa.gov, medicare.gov, and benefitscheckup.org. I will see you in the next video. Take care of yourselves.